to the ladies and to the gentlemen. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Bank On It podcast, brought to you by the Appalachian Newspapers. Regional sports editor Randy White, Cory, Vance, Wes, back with episode number 2. As I said, coming off a big weekend for UK fans in particular. Disappointing weekend. Nonetheless, we went into maybe the biggest game we've had in recent memory for sure, if not ever.
Biggest game ever in my lifetime. No doubt about that.
No question. Biggest game in our lifetime. It was a, man, it was tough. It was tough to watch. But, you know, like we've said before, we get down early, we're going to have trouble climbing our way back into it.
I mean, we talked about last week, when UK gets down, the passing offense is just not there for him to come back in these games. Terry Wilson did a better job. You look at his stats, and it's not bad. Over 200 yards passing. But when you look at some of his throws, some of them are questionable. Some of them didn't get there on time. Some of them but then again, he'll turn around and make some brilliant throws as well. But you know, the one that really stood out for us while we were watching, we watched it here, of course, folks. But the one that really stood out was his touchdown throw, which should have been a pick six probably.
Yeah,
got a big break. I mean, just kind of talk about that a little bit. I mean, you know, that's a huge deficit to try to overcome every week.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, we try to get out there and we try to control the clock. I mean, I think Georgia just came out with kind of the blueprint to what to do against Kentucky football. I mean, you get us down early, we're in trouble. And we talked about this before with Terry Wilson. Sometimes he just lets these balls go and you just cringe.
Yeah, absolutely.
You cringe a little bit when he lets them go because you never know what's going to happen. I think we even talked about, you know, it's tough for him to decide when he needs to put more touch on the ball, when he needs to really put one in there with a little mustard on it. But I would say I think he's getting better week to week. I mean, he's definitely improving. And just the playmaking skills alone with his legs, you know, make him – you got to think he's our best option.
I mean, he has to be. I mean, if not, you know, like we talked about before, if he wasn't the best option, he wouldn't be out there. I mean, they would give Gunnar Hope the try. But and it's not like Terry Wilson can't throw the ball at all. He can. Right. It's just sometimes his judge, he likes to hold the ball a little bit. Maybe he's relying too much on that athleticism. And at this level, against a team like Georgia, that's hard to overcome sometimes.
It really is. And then just coming from the junior college level, stepping into the SEC, which is obviously every year in, year out, the best defensive conference in the country. You know, it's a huge transition.
And the other thing that we haven't spoke about either is he didn't get any help from his run game this game. I mean, the run game was pretty much non-existent. They had some good runs and stuff, but they were not dominant like before earlier in the season. I mean, you know, to beat a team like Georgia, you got to control the ball. You got to keep your defense off the field.
Yes.
The defense was on the field so much, so I mean, you know, they were going to give up points to Georgia being on the field that much.
Yeah, the only shot, I think we talked about this before, the only shot we had going into that game was controlling the clock, you know, feeding the running backs, keeping Georgia's offense off the field, you know, and we just weren't able to do that. Yeah. I mean, we made some early mistakes, and it was tough. It was tough to overcome, and, you know, but we come right back. We go to Tennessee this week. But the best I've felt about a road game in Knoxville in recent memory, we're coming out 6-point favorites on the road at Tennessee. It's been a long time since Kentucky was a road favorite at Tennessee.
And you know, again, there's no short games against Tennessee. The times you think we should win, we don't.
Yeah.
It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen and will happen in this game. I mean, there's nothing you can feel too comfortable about going in. I mean, other than the way Tennessee's played all season, but you know, at home against Kentucky, they got a chip on their shoulder as well. They want to show the people that, hey, Kentucky's not surpassed us yet.
Right. Well, and you just hope, I mean, Stoops gets the guys kind of reset coming off a really, really disappointing loss, has them ready to play at Tennessee. I mean, you got to think that he'll have them fired up and ready to go, and then those guys will want to go out there and kind of redeem themselves for the performance against Georgia. But, you know, going to Knoxville is never going to be easy, and you know as well as I do, as a lifelong Kentucky fan, there's no surefire wins.
No, and that's the one team that you want to see Kentucky beat more than anybody. At least I do.
Yeah.
I mean, even more so than the Louisvilles and whoever. To me, that Tennessee game is the one every year you want to see them win that game. And I think the biggest question is how does this team respond to that loss?
Right.
I mean, you know, you're really still playing for second place in the East now. You're not going to win the SEC East now. You already know that Georgia won that game. That's decided. So now, how do you finish the regular season?
Yeah,
You try to finish with a 10-win, go to a big bowl, or do you let that win or that loss get to you?
Well, this team's shown some resilience all season, coming back against Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've shown they're a gritty team. They're going to fight, and you got to think they're going to come back. Hopefully, not let this Georgia loss get them 2 down, and be able to really come back and go down to Tennessee. And I'm with you, man. I want to see Kentucky beat Tennessee. I want to see them beat Florida every single year. Yeah. And obviously, we haven't had that Florida win in my lifetime, basically, until this year, which felt great, by the way. Yeah. Felt great. So I don't love the fact that Kentucky's a road favorite. That makes me. I have a terrible feeling anytime Kentucky's a road favorite. Yeah. I feel like we play better when we're considered an underdog a lot of times. This is pretty much uncharted territory. Road favorites at Tennessee.
Anywhere in the SEC is almost uncharted for UK.
Unheard of. And 42.5 on the over-under seems a little high for me.
It does, but, I mean, you know, who knows what's going to happen. I mean, special teams, defense can score. I mean, you know, 42, if I'm looking at that, I'm probably going to take the under on that if I'm betting that.
Yeah, I mean, in order to get that over, I feel like you got to have 25 from Kentucky. I mean, Tennessee's not a team that's putting a lot of points on the board this year.
So it could be a defensive struggle. So that over-under, that's something to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about just, again, you know, Coach Stoops being able to come out, get the guys reset, have them fired up, have them ready to run through a wall. They're a gritty team. They're going to come out ready to play against Tennessee this year and hopefully end up in a New Year's Six bowl game. You know, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. We still got 2 tough games. Say what you want. Look, Louisville got house this weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
But a Kentucky-Louisville game.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Who knows? Again, it's one of those rivalry games. And, you know, a few years ago when they had Teddy Bridgewater, we were not supposed to win that game.
No. And we come and we won that did we win that at Louisville? I think we won that at Louisville. Right. Yeah, so anything can happen in these rivalry games. I mean, we've seen that over and over again. College football, completely unpredictable. But, you know, fear not. Kentucky basketball.
Tonight.
As of tonight at 9:30. Going up against Duke. Man. Lots of unanswered questions, just like always with any new Kentucky team. You got so many new guys coming in. It'll always be interesting to see how Cal uses what he does as far as the starting 5, the rotation. I think it will be fun to see some of these young studs come out and see how they play, man. I mean, who's the player that you would say you're most excited to see this year? I mean, I know we've got a lot, but is there a guy in particular that you have your eye on, like, this could be my guy this year?
You know, it's so early to tell. I mean, to me, I think the biggest thing with Cal and most of his teams, what I always look at is point guard play.
Yeah.
He's been known to develop point guards over the years. So we've got 3 solid point guards over Higgins, Quickly, and Greenback. So to me, who establishes themselves as the starter, as the go-to guy in crunch time, that's going to be the early season thing that I'm going to be looking for is point guard play out of Kentucky. We're loaded everywhere else. All you have to do is fill a lane. I mean, and all 3 point guards, they can shoot the ball well. They get to the basket. So to me, that's the biggest thing that I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, though, they're going to definitely be playing most of the time 2 point guards on the floor.
Well, you would imagine, but with a guy like Keldon Johnson out there who can play a 2 or a 3, you've got Tyler Hero who could probably play a 2 or a 3 too. So, I mean, it's not like you're not loaded at these other spots too. And then, you know, you got Jamar Baker coming back this year, who didn't play at all last year. So who knows what he's going to do this year? I mean, you're loaded at those 2 and 3 spots too. So do you play small lineups with 2 point guards in? I mean, you know, there's a lot of questions with this team.
And some of these, you know, Ashton Higgins, I think from what I've heard coming out, is kind of the best defender. I think
so.
From what I take just early on. But it'll be interesting to see. We got some size down in. I mean, Reed Travis is going to be fun to see how he kind of comes in, and he's playing with a lot of guys who are 4 or 5 years younger than him.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be fun to see how he comes in, and just steps into a leadership role for this team. I mean, I don't think anybody's expecting Reed Travis to be the leading scorer. There's 6 guys on this team that could possibly be the team's leading scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think night in, night out, it just depends who's hot, who's get the ball, the matchup. I mean, it's all that stuff. But, another thing we've not even talked about against that Duke game is Duke is loaded too. I mean, with Zion and Barrett. I mean, you just go down that roster as well. I mean, they may be more athletic than Kentucky starting out in some spots on the floor. I mean, it's going to be, a true test. It's going to be 2 mirror image teams. I mean, you look at the line, it's a 2-point Kentucky favorite, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically a toss-up. I mean, I don't – and it's so hard to handicap college basketball this early in the year because all these teams – you really never know who they are until about halfway through the season. Yeah. And, with Kentucky fans in particular, I think you just have to, you got to temper those expectations. It's going to take this team till halfway, at least through the season, to hit their stride and really come together, get used to playing with each other. You like to see it earlier, but most of these teams, you don't get it like that,
And that's the thing with a young team. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. I mean, it's like anything else. You don't just come in with no experience. These guys are new to each other. Yeah. Even the returning sophomores may be more comfortable with each other, but they don't have to. They have to play with these young guys as well. So it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and working guys into the rotation, going with the hot hand. I mean, I'm super excited to see how all these guys play. I think Keldon Johnson kind of stands out to me. Maybe that's just because I've seen a lot more of his AAU and maybe his highlight reels more than anybody else. But
I think his upside, especially scoring the ball wise, is probably higher than anybody else on the team. But I mean, any one of these guys could take over on any given night.
For sure, and it's super exciting time of the year. Just having UK basketball tipping off. Football potentially, going into the Tennessee weekend and possibly playing for a New Year's Six bowl. It's a super exciting time for UK sports just in general, and I'm excited to see how it plays out, man. I mean,
and speaking of college basketball, tonight at the Expo Center, UPike will be taking on UVA Wise. That's always a good little matchup. They used to be in the same conference. UVA Wise is not anymore. They moved out. Should be a good matchup. Kelly Wells picked up his 300th career win at the collegiate level over the weekend in the Appalachian Wires Classic. Always got those guys ready to play. A couple guys still not in the lineup here. Jordan Perry out with an injury. Chase Parsley, but Dela Cruz, Javion Dela Cruz has been a 2-time player of the week in the Mid-South already in the first 2 weeks of the season. So, guys putting up crazy numbers. I think he had 30-plus, last couple weeks in his games. UPike out to a 5-0 start. So, that's always fun to see. And, Kelly Wells, 300 wins at the collegiate level. I mean, number speaks for itself.
Yeah, and possibly, and maybe, I don't know how many people out there realize it, probably the best coach, or as good a coach as there is in NAI, or anywhere for that matter. We're lucky to have a guy like that.
Absolutely. I think Kelly Wells could coach on any level in basketball. I don't think the level matters. I think, a winner's a winner, and he's definitely a winner.
Well, and without a doubt, his resume speaks for itself. I mean, he has good teams year in and year out, and they're always competitive. So get out to the Expo Center tonight. Check out some UPike basketball, people. Go out and see these guys. It's an exciting team to watch.
Before we go on to high school football, we'll talk about the Bengals a little bit. On bye last week. Coming back this week against the Saints. Tough matchup right there. I mean, Saints coming off a big win over the Rams. The Rams probably the best team in the NFL. Arguably, the Rams, Saints, and Chiefs put those three in a hat and draw out any name, and you got a legit argument for the best team in the NFL.
100%.
Big test for the Bengals at home against the Saints.
And maybe without A.J. Green, too.
Yeah, toe injury, I think.
Yeah, toe injury. I think they're expecting him to miss a couple of games. The Saints, to me, right now they're hitting on all cylinders, man. I mean, I think the Saints might be they're my favorite to come out of the NFC, even more so than the Rams, just because of what the Saints can do on offense. I mean, the Rams' defense, I think, was expected to be better than they actually have been, which they've been good, no doubt about it. But Drew Brees.
Yeah, I mean, the
still
guys
doing
timeless. Him and Tom Brady. I mean, those two guys are timeless. And then Drew Brees doesn't have to do it all by himself either. I mean, they run the ball with a two-headed monster down with Kamara and what's his name from Alabama?
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
And Alvin Kamara probably right up there, mid-season MVP candidate.
He's definitely in the mix with Gurley, I would imagine. Those two are probably the front runners, I would say.
Both these 3 down backs that never have to come off the field. I mean, these guys are spectacular. Hopefully the Bengals can get out there and do something with the Saints. I mean, it's going to come down to the game plan, what they can do, if they can get in there, if they can put some shots on Drew Brees, make him uncomfortable early. I think that's what it's going to come down to, and then the offense just clicking. It's going to hurt real bad not having A.J. Green in the lineup. They have him listed as out as of right now. More than likely he's going to miss a couple of weeks. So it's the young receiver's gonna have to step up, man.
To me, Tyler Boyd's kind of proven himself this year. So to me, it's those next guys. It's the Josh Malones. It's the John Rosses. Where's John Ross been at this year?
You need John Ross right now.
You drafted him to be an Antonio Brown type with that speed, and he's not been on the field really his two seasons in Cincinnati. So those guys are going to have to step up, and also Joe Mixon he's going to have to run the ball effectively. Maybe you have to, go for a big game, run the ball. We have to control that clock, make it shorter, get off the field, and see if we can take the ball out of Drew Brees' hand.
And Andy Dalton has to make good decisions.
And the thing about Dalton this year, though, is he's played well. He's made good decisions, hasn't hurt them with turnovers, and a lot of that is his offensive line as well. That line is a lot better. So 4.5-point underdog at home to a good Saints team. You like seeing it that low.
Yeah.
That's a positive there, but without A.J. Green, it's going to be a tough battle to climb for the Bengals.
Yeah, Vegas showing the Bengals a little bit of respect. I mean, with the 4.5 points, that's a pretty good line. I would say that's generous.
Yeah,
that's generous for the Bengals, especially. I would expect that line to go up. I think by Sunday you might see that a little bit more than 4.5.
I would say probably it'd be around that 6 area.
Yeah,
I would guess
6 to 8 points seems pretty much right on the money. But with the Saints, I mean, that's a team that can get hot, put points on the board real quick. Again, handed the Rams, who were rolling, their first loss of the year. For my money right now, though, the Kansas City Chiefs are just an absolute. This is Andy Reid. This is how Andy Reid's teams come hard out of the gate.
Regular season warriors.
Andy Reid, you better believe weeks 1 through 9 or 10, Andy Reid's going to have his team firing on all cylinders. And then we'll see what this seems like they're built to last. I mean, they're a complete football team. In defense, they're a complete offensive football team.
And the defense is not healthy right now for Kansas City, and they're getting healthy. So, if they all get back in time, who knows? That defense will get a lot better, I think. But you never know how long these guys are going to be out. So, Kansas City is definitely in that mix. Speaking of Kansas City, when Cincinnati played them a couple weeks ago in primetime, they just demolished Cincinnati. Saints are on that level, so this could be a redemption factor for the Bengals to show, that they were better than that showing.
Yeah, that Kansas City game was, they rolled over like dogs. It almost felt like they quit toward the end of that game, and they were getting trounced, but, you hate to see the Bengals just roll over like that and just kind of not. It almost seemed like they'd given up a little bit on that one. And hopefully they come out a little bit better, look a little bit more crisp on offense, get some stops on defense. And this is a winnable game. Any game in the NFL is winnable. I mean, you know how it is with the NFL. Any game can be winnable. The talent margin between the best team and the worst team, not massive.
No, not
but any team can kind of win on any given Sunday out there. So go Bengals. All right, so Class A or all of high school football kicked off this past week, and just from going up and down the bracket, it looks like pretty much all chalk across the board. The hometown team, Pikeville, obviously came out trounced Pineville a little bit, 49-16. Stat sheet stuffer, man. I mean, a lot of guys making plays in that game. Is there any of the Class A games that kind of stood out to you as being a little bit closer than you thought, or is there an upset that maybe you didn't expect?
There was nothing really in that first week. I mean, the first week kind of played out as you would expect. Just starting out with Pikeville, when you talk about stat sheet stuff, or when it comes to Pikeville, it all starts up front with Connor Roberts. I mean, the kid is just incredible at quarterback. Probably thrown for 1,500 yards right at, probably rushed for another 1,000. So You know, everything kind of starts with Pikeville's offense with Connor Roberts. But, you know, by the time I got to that game, I get there and they're up 42-0 at halftime. And Connor's nowhere on the field. So you look at Isaac McNamee, 6'3" freshman quarterback. He's taking the reins. You know, that kid right there was throwing the ball over the field in that second half. So it's a good problem to have when you're Pikeville to get your young guys some playoff experience in that first home opener.
Yeah, so Pikeville is coming out next week, and they
got Lynn Camp Friday night.
Lynn Camp Friday night. Probably second round, you're expecting a little bit of what you saw in the first round. Most of the favorites kind of moving on.
Lynn Camp is interesting because they enter with a 10-1 record. The thing about Lynn Camp, though, is you look at who they played, and you really don't know how good they are. They've not really had any tests. Phelps is a good team, but they were supposed to beat Phelps at home. But when you look at Lynn Camp, everything starts with their running back, Dalton Cook. I mean, the kid is second in the state behind Shelby Valley's Seth Johnson. You look at his numbers; he's rushed for almost 2,500 yards so far this season. So, I mean, that's going to be the key for Pikeville is stopping Dalton Cook. So, how they handle that run game is going to be their question right there.
A lot of speed out there for Pikeville.
Yeah, that's the one plus. Even on defense, they got a lot of speed. They're not huge up front, but they are quick, and their linebackers get to the ball. They get to the ball really quick. So, if they can contain Cook and not let him break anything on, they should be in good shape.
So, I mean, you got Pikeville, Lynn Camp, you got Hazard going up against Williamsburg, so it's looking like if all works out as planned, you're looking at another Pikeville versus Hazard rematch at Pikeville. They played at Hazard the first time?
That was at Pikeville.
At Pikeville.
Pikeville hosted, and Hazard gives Pikeville a look that you know a lot of teams will struggle with in Class A with Pikeville because of the speed, but Hazard's really big up front. And that creates, you know, running lanes for them. And you know, their running back, Skylar Pelfrey, ran for over 200 yards that game against Pikeville. So, you know, anytime that you can control the clock, control the ball, you're going to be in a game. So, but Williamsburg is an intriguing matchup with Hazard. That might be one of the more intriguing ones. They're one seed going in. They can put up a lot of points. It's at Williamsburg, too. They're not a pushover, but if Hazard goes out and takes care of business, they should move on. And it could be a championship round next week for Hazard and Pikeville.
Especially after that game last week with Hazard and Harlan. That was closer than I thought it was way closer.
Yeah.
The thing about Hazard is, though, they're not exactly healthy either. I mean, a lot of those guys, Skylar Pelford probably hasn't played significant minutes since the Pikeville game. Reese Fletcher's been banged up. So they've got a lot of guys who you'll be seeing this week that probably haven't been on the field the last few weeks.
So and then the other area team that just kind of jumps out at you at Class A, Paintsville obviously rolled against Bracken County 39-6. I mean, it's kind of what you expected out of that game.
Yeah, well, Cory was down there. Cory covered that one a little bit. So, Cory, you want to kind of talk about Paintsville and what you saw?
Paintsville didn't really start out of the gate very strong. Friday night, they struggled on the first couple of offensive possessions to be able to move the ball. Defense is strong. Defense is really strong. They held Bracken County just as much as Bracken was holding them.
So they play Nicholas County at home.
Yeah, they'll be home until I think the semifinal round. So
they should get Raceland at home.
Yeah, they will get Raceland at home if Raceland makes it there. But looking at that Paintsville defense, Jalen Allen is probably the name that is going to stand out. He's a big time prospect for a college level play. Everything starts with their defense. Yeah, I mean, we can move on to Class 2A now. Got Tyler sitting here, Shelby Valley's offensive coordinator. We won't get you on, but
42. Hanging 42 on Middlesboro.
And you know, that was the game I went to last week, Shelby Valley. Everything started with the story of Seth Johnson. I mean, what an incredible, ordeal he had to overcome last week. Just having the courage to get out there and play, that's what heroics are about. That's what high school football is about. Going through a tough time, the kid found a way to overcome and put up a heck of a game, man. I mean, what a tribute.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. You love to see that happen. You love to, you hate to see something like that strike a kid that young, but for him to come out and play some inspired football like that, that's
incredible. And the whole team kind of rallied around him. I mean, that's really what you want to see in football in general. I mean, it's these life lessons that they're teaching. And Friday night, I think that was, to me, that's what really stood out. It wasn't so much the game. You look at the 42-0 win, but, it's really the overcoming and playing through adversity, coming together as a team. I mean, that's what sports are about.
Yeah, and these are 16, 17-year-old kids. I mean, that's tough for anybody to deal with, let alone a teenager. Yeah. So, hey, big game this week at Shelby Valley, Lexington Christian.
Yeah, I mean, Lexington Christian, we saw them come up here against Pikeville early on in Pike County ball. That's a tough team. Probably not the same team you'll be seeing from early on to now. I'm sure they've grown up that schedule. They might even added a couple kids on the roster that probably didn't even play. So it's going to be a really good game. Shelby Valley, they can play with anybody. That run game is really, really strong. So if Seth Johnson comes out and have a Seth Johnson game, which I feel he will, I think it's going to be one of those toss-up games that a play here or there could decide that one.
Well, it's things like that happen that really bring a team together, and they look out for Shelby Valley in the Class 2A playoffs to maybe make a run. I mean, that's a tough that's a gauntlet of teams in 2A, man. I mean,
it's probably the toughest class out of like the first four to come out of. I mean, there's so many loaded teams in that Class 2A. 2A and 1A to me are so loaded with anybody can win on any given Friday night. So 2A is going to be a tough one. Somerset is going to be a beast for anybody on this east side of the state to beat. Danville's Danville for a reason. I mean, all those teams like that, they can make a run, and who knows what's going to happen. That's why they play the game. But looking at Shelby Valley, a little bit more. Seth Johnson leads the state in rushing, averaging 237 yards a game. Over 2,000 yards on the season, the second straight 2,000-yard season, quick as lightning. And then you start looking at some of the other pieces. Dalton Mead is all over the field. You've got the Mullins kids, Noah and Mikey. Last week they were just flying to the football. So some really good kids playing really well right now. Up front you got Peyton Blackburn. So they've got some pieces up there that should make this game really, really interesting.
Well, go Wildcats. I'm sold on that. Definitely rooting for Shelby Valley now.
Absolutely.
I can have a rooting interest. This guy covers the sports. I can have a rooting interest. Go Shelby Valley. That's what I say. Other area teams, man. Prestonsburg took a tough loss. Lexington Christian obviously moved on. Anything else in 2A that kind of jumps out at you? It looks like all chalk on that side too.
Yeah, the 2A is the thing to watch. Is probably the next couple of rounds that it start getting really, really interesting. I think Friday night the Shelby Valley Lexington Christian one is one of the more interesting games in the state. It's right in our backyard. Everybody go check that one out. It should be a good game. We'll move on to 3A now.
All right, so 3A.
Before we wrap up 2A, one last thing. East Ridge ended their season. They made the playoff round. Tough season for East Ridge, having a coaching change in the middle of the year. Ben Runyon's done a good job getting those guys focused to get another win, make it into the playoffs. But East Ridge finished up their season, I think, 2-9 on the year. So it's a tough thing for East Ridge to compete and go on the road like that.
Coaching change in the middle of the year for a high school team's got to be brutal.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, it's got to be brutal to deal with. So
whole system overhaul right in the middle of the year.
Yeah, that's hard to deal with. So congrats to East Ridge on powering through that and kind of finishing the season off. You love to see them do a little bit better, but that's a tough situation for them to deal with. Then just going on to 3A, it doesn't matter the class. It really just kind of jumps out. It's all chalk.
Yeah.
All chalk in the first round.
The first round, if you want to look at anything that stands out, it's Lawrence County and Western Hills, and that's the score that jumps out, 78-74.
That's insane.
It's just crazy putting up those kind of numbers. Lawrence County quarterback Noah West, I think he put up close to 500 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns on the game. And then you look at Western Hills, Wandell Robinson, I think he had 100 and some rushing yards, but he had 230 some receiving yards. UK signing.
Yeah.
Just an offensive explosion there.
78-74. We saw that on Saturday morning, and we thought it was a misprint. Like, that cannot be.
Yeah, anything can happen with those times. When you got to make a stop, somebody made one at the end somehow to win.
Oh, there was a stop.
Lawrence County won the game with the stop at the end. I think Western Hills was driving, so they needed to stop and got it when it counted.
So the area teams, just looking at the this side of the bracket, Floyd Central obviously kind of goes down. Pike Central goes down. Tough game against Lexington Catholic. And I mean that's pretty much it for our
Belfry,
Belfry,
Rolls,
Belfry.
Girard County. They were supposed to. Belfry, this is the time of year for Belfry football. This is what they play for all year. I mean, the regular season, they just use it to get prepared for the postseason play. Belfry opens up 42-0 against Girard. Go in, take care of business, get in, get out. Now they're planning for Lexington Catholic this Friday night. That'd be a good one. Lexington Catholic are always a tough offensive team, so it's going to be a different style of play, a spread you out, try to score a lot of points where Belfry's just going to smash you in the mouth. So those kind of matchups are always kind of stick out just because of the difference in style of play.
A ton of points in 3A. I mean, 50s, 60s, 70s, two teams scored in one game, both scored 7. Who would have thought, if you had told Western Hills they were going to put up 74 points in a loss?
I don't think anybody thinks they're going to lose if they put up 74.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and then you look at Pike Central, they had a tough game last week, so season comes to the end. Eric Ratliff did a good job up there, a lot of holes to fill for Pike Central. Not much you can do on the road to get at Lex Cath. You have to outscore them.
Yeah.
They didn't have the firepower to outscore them. Tyler Hunt, quarterback up there, had a really good season. Isaac Thacker, running back, had a pretty good season. Defensively, there were some real holes to fill that they just couldn't kind of fill in the gaps to stop a high-powered Lexington Catholic team. So
yeah, lots of high scores in 3A. Anything else jump out to you?
Just moving on, Friday the interesting game to me is going to be Breathitt County and Bell County.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean that's going to be a barn burner. Bell's kind of struggled the last few years. Breathitt's kind of struggled. They're both trying to get back to where they were, back to that power, that relevancy. Dudley Hilton, former UPike head coach. Is back at Bell County. The field's named after him, so he's got a lot to play for. He wants to prove that he's still one of the top coaches in the state. So,
yeah, and then Belfry, Lexington Catholic. I mean, that's a huge game right in our backyard over at Belfry. I mean, that should be a fun one if you're able to get out to any of these high school games this week. Lots of playoff action in Pike County this week.
We got 3 teams left in Pike County: Shelby Valley, Belfry, and Pikeville, all still playing, trying to extend their season past Friday night.
Yeah. Lots of playoff games for you to get out to this weekend. Going into 4A, same story as the rest. I mean, not a whole lot of movement as far as maybe teams that were all the teams that were expected to win. Looks like they all won. Man, lots of points getting put up. I mean, 40s.
These first round matches are these 1 and 4s matchups are usually a little bit. One school's a 1 seed for a reason, and usually you're a 4 seed for a reason. It's a little overpowering that first round. A lot of people don't like the 4 seeds. They want to see back to 2 seeds going, but I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Cory went and covered Johnson Central, Bourbon County, and give you a little lowdown on that one.
Johnson Central, they were clicking on all cylinders. They're on your same level as your Belfry. They're gonna use the regular season to prepare for postseason. Riley Priest, he was slinging the ball around, which is something you don't hear a lot from Johnson Central. You hear it every now and then.
Yeah.
You got Joe Jackson, who's coming off of an injury last year, putting up great numbers this year.
I think he's rushed for 1,500 yards so far this year.
Yeah, you've got David Johnson on the defensive side of the ball as well as the offensive side of the ball, running the ball for him, and then you got the Horn brothers up front that they just create so much pressure on the quarterback. They get to the ball, they're breaking through the line every play.
Yeah, I mean the Horns. If you haven't saw those kids play, they're fun to watch on the defensive side. They like you said, they get to the ball quick. They're not huge defensive linemen, but they get after you. So a lot of speed, a lot of power.
And Johnson Central hosting Scott County.
Not Scott County.
Oh, Scott.
Scott County 6A. Yeah, Scott is a 4A team. Johnson Central should they should be too big, too strong for Scott. Scott could put up a few points on some teams. They could make it interesting, but Johnson Central is going to look to wear them down, and in the typical style that Belfry does, they wear you down, and then they kind of cruise in that second half. You get tired, they don't. So that's going to be that kind of matchup there that they're going to try to wear Scott down.
Going on to 5?
Yeah, we can move on to 5A now.
Going into 5A, same old story. Looks like, as far as area teams, but there are no 5A area teams, are there?
Letcher Central and Perry Central, I think, both got beat out last week. So Letcher Central was that was one of the slight upsets. They were a 2 seed going in. Get beat by Lincoln County 22-7. Prairie Central gets shut out 21-0 to Southwestern. Southwestern has knocked Prairie Central out last couple years. So, I mean, nothing really happened that was surprising on that end. I mean, Pulaski's rolling people up as well. They're back. So I think it could be Pulaski County Southwestern meeting there to see who potentially plays Covington Catholic in that semi.
Yeah, Covington Catholic rolling over Woodford County. First round, 49-0, pitching a shutout. Yeah, you hate to see some of the teams from the eastern part of the state going out, but you know, some of these powerhouses just come down and they're just it's a different level of competition, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you just start seeing a lot better teams and teams really saving their best football for the playoffs.
Yeah, and you know, the second, third rounds is when action is really going to pick up. Third round, really, there's going to be some matchups in the second round, but mostly that third round is when it really gets interesting. If you want to move on to 6A, we can take care of that real quick. You know, 6A, that's all over the place. I mean, again, you talk about high score, and you got some really good teams. Frederick Douglass, you know, they're marching on. St. X they seem to be back. Male is right there. I mean, Trinity, all these teams up there, you know, taking care of business, doing what they're supposed to do. Trinity, you know, wins 69-0 in their first round win. You know, so. It's nothing shocking there. It gets interesting when these big teams start matching up with each other. Trinity and St. X meet up in that semi, or that's going to be a very interesting matchup. You know, they get probably 20,000 people in Papa John's just to see that game. So,
yeah, two big teams in Louisville. I mean, Trinity, St. X. Those are, in your opinion, the favorites come out of 6A?
I like St. X and Trinity, but on the bottom side, you got to look at a team like Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a team there that they can beat anybody on any Friday night. A quarterback played at Knott Central a couple years ago. Jones, completion percentage around 80 somewhere on the year. Just a big 6'6", 6'7" quarterback, slings it all over the field. So they're an interesting team to watch, and so Scott County. So it should be very interesting at 6A.
So this weekend you got coming up, you got lots of big high school games in the area. If you can, try to get out to some of those, root on some of these area teams, and wish them the best in the rest of the playoffs. We like to see a bunch of them get down to state. Yeah,
and last thing, UPike also plays their season finale at home Saturday night. So I'll get out and support UPike. They win that one. That's 7 wins on the season. That's a lot of football action going on Friday night.
Yeah, and, you know, again, going back to Kentucky, going to Knoxville this week, go Big Blue. Go Cats. We go down to Tennessee, get a big win, make us very happy people on Saturday night. Makes my night much better when Kentucky and anytime we can get a win over Tennessee, just makes my Saturday night much better. And I think most of us that are here watching the game makes our Saturday night
absolutely. Bank on it, folks. That's it for this week. We kind of went out to Pikeville the other day, talked to Connor Roberts and Christian Billiter about the season, about the playoffs, everything going on with Pikeville football right now. Check it out. Just talk a little bit about Lynn Camp coming up Friday. I mean, that's the task at hand. What y'all know about them, things y'all preparing for.
Lynn Camp, I haven't really, film just came up, so, we were watching in there just a few minutes ago, and, their running back seems pretty good, #1 leading rusher in the state, so, our defense has a task on their hands, keep him under 100 yards. But I feel like Coach Lowe will prepare us good enough for us to be able to stop him, and Coach Johnson, Coach Mack will be able to come up with a good offense, and we should be able to get this victory.
Just talk about how fun it is playing in this offense. I mean, guys all over the field, got to be prepared on every play. You got Connor back here, can throw it, run it. I mean, just to kind of talk about how fun this offense is. I mean, you never know, it could be your play anytime to score. I mean, just kind of talk about this offense and your role in it.
This offense is probably one of my favorite offenses because no matter what, you think you could scheme for Connor, or you think you could scheme for me, or you think you could scheme for Seth or Jackson or Kyle or anybody, but you can't do that because we have so many threats and just such good athletes that we can just hit you at any spot. And my role in this offense basically is just make big time plays when I'm needed and just put it out there on the line for my team.
Yeah, last thing, and I'll let you go. Just kind of talk about the mindset coming in this year, being so close to making that state championship last year. What's the motivation this year? Is that always in the back of your mind? You know, being so close, wanting to get back there, kind of redeem yourself.
Yeah, it's always in the back of your mind. You know, you can't let it stay in the front of your mind because then you'll just be focused on that. But you know, you keep that in your back of your mind, motivation. You know, losing by 3 to racing a team that last year I felt like we were better than. You know, it beats by the last second field goal. You know, that kind of hurts. But this year, you know, we put in the work in the off season, and just in the dead period and the even days like after practice or like days we didn't have practice, we come in here and we work hard and stuff like that. So I feel like if we keep working hard and keep doing what we're doing, we should be able to win a state championship and bring it back to Pikeville.
Just kind of talk about the playoffs. I mean, Friday night, how big that was, getting a big win over Pikeville. I mean, you know, not a lot of people knew about Pikeville. Y'all could easily came out, drug around, you know, not really come out sharp. Came out sharp though, got going, got some rest. I mean, talk about how big that was.
I mean, it's a good win. I mean, no matter who you're playing, you're still going to come out and do your best and just show up every game, not play down to your opponent. I mean, I felt like most people thought we were better than Pikeville, but we still came out and showed everybody what's up.
Yeah, just kind of talk about your role in this offense. I mean, I'd say you give defenses nightmare trying to scheme for you because any play you could tuck it and run it, take it to the house, throw weapons all over the place like Christian, Hensley, I mean, Pugh. I mean, just kind of talk about your role in this offense and how fun it is to be the quarterback in this Pikeville offense.
I like it. There's so many options to every play we have. We run a lot of RPOs, so you never can really tell who has the ball. And like Christian just said, I mean, you can't really scheme for one specific player because we have so many threats. So, I mean, whenever you have guys like me that have, or guys up front, my line that's protecting guys like me, I mean, it makes it a whole lot easier, and they really go unnoticed a lot of times, but they deserve a lot more credit than what they get.
Yeah, just kind of talk about the receivers you got to throw to. I mean, because it seems like you got guys all over the field. Kyle Watkins, you know, you got Christian, Hensley, Pugh, JT Orem. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, as a quarterback, is that like you just see that and salivate, knowing if you get a one-on-one with any one of those guys, you can just toss it up and let them go get it?
Yeah, a lot of times we have different reads and stuff where if we just see a one-on-one coverage, you're just going to throw it up, let athletes be athletes and go make big-time plays. They help me out a lot too.
Yeah, just kind of talk about the defense as well. You know, a lot said about the offense, but this defense has been coming around. Just talk about as a quarterback knowing that those guys are behind you. You put up some points, they're probably going to make some stops for you. So, I mean, just talk about how big that is as a quarterback knowing that the guys behind you on defense can go out there and make plays themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got guys like John Collum and Caden Caldwell and Connor Wright. They're making big-time plays all the time, stopping the run. Then especially our DBs like Kyle, Jackson, Seth, Christian. I mean, they're all the time giving offenses a bunch of stress on the offensive end, but then it comes over to their offensive end, and we just put up points, and you know that the defense is going to be there to shut the other team down.
Just kind of talk about the goals for the playoffs. I mean, home field advantage, how big is that for you all until the state? I mean, nobody wants to go on the road playoff time. Just talk about how big that is.
Oh, it's a huge advantage. Last year we had to go play at Hazard and then at Raceland. That was two pretty tough games. I feel like we're going to have a lot more fans at the home games later the playoffs go on.
Yeah, just talk about a little about how last year kind of got y'all prepared for this year. It seemed like y'all's team grew up a lot through the regular season last year. This year y'all kind of come out focused, ready to go week in, week out. Just talk about the different mindset. It seems like you're all more about business this year.
Yeah, last year, I mean, there's a lot of learning things going on throughout the year, but we really had a bunch of younger guys, really. This year, we all know what's at stake. We all know what we want to do at the end of the year. We want to win a championship, bring it home. I mean, I think we're all really focused in on it, too.